Joined by Sian Elliot from the Trade Union Congress. Thank you very much for being with us at the moment. Give us an idea, first of all, what are you hearing? We've heard a report this evening of some of the situations that many of those working in the NHS are finding themselves in. How desperate is it at the moment?
We're hearing some really desperate stories. I was speaking to a midwife only a few weeks ago who is turning to food banks in order to get by and feed her children. We're hearing of those working in social care that can't afford to put fuel in their car in order to get to the home visit that they need to make to the people that they care for. We're hearing of teachers and others turning off the heating and considering keeping it off this winter just in order to make sure they keep a roof over their families' heads. These are really difficult times for key workers across the public sector, including the NHS and elsewhere. Yeah,
we've seen, haven't we, the last few years, there is huge affection for many of those who work in the NHS, but also these strikes would have a massive impact on public health. How do you find that balance between what you're trying to achieve and the impact that'll have on those who need help?
First of all, no one takes strike action or even considers strike action. It's not something that our members take lightly. They, of course, want the government to come to the table to negotiate with unions who are acting on their behalf to get a better pay deal. But these latest pay offers are well below the rate of inflation. They amount to a real terms pay cut for members, and it comes after 12 years of NHS workers having their pay cut. The average nurse is earning £4,000 less in real terms today than they were in 2010, and that simply can't be right. And so what many of these members want is for government to come to the table before they have to consider taking this action and get a better pay deal.
The problem is, we just heard from Andy Bell there talking about the financial issues that the government are facing right across the board. They might be able to come to the table, but what can they actually offer? Everybody is squeezed for money at the moment.
We recognise that there are squeezes, but there are absolutely choices that the government can make. It's really telling that they're choosing to tell nurses no when it comes to pay rises, while enabling bankers to get bigger and bigger bonuses. It's a political choice, and we know that investing in our NHS workforce is really important. We've got a recruitment and retention crisis. If we want to keep people from voting with their feet and leaving with droves that will further jeopardise patient care, then we've got to make sure they're paid fairly and that they're able to keep themselves and their families above water during this difficult winter.
Can I read you some of the messages we've received tonight on the 5 phone? I'll put some of these to you as well, Sian. Thank you for all of these, by the way. Melanie from Scotland has got in contact. I'm a student nurse. I agree that we should go on strike. People don't see the way we come home exhausted because of the amount of time we do, and we are so short-staffed. Ross from Kent has got in contact. My mum works for the NHS, regularly comes home complaining about how short-staffed they are and all the cuts. George in Kenilworth tonight. Nurses don't want to be on strike. The government is giving them no choice. It's either strike or face state-imposed poverty. Neil from East Devon, I would blame the NHS. I'm sorry, I would not blame the NHS if they went on strike. Jamie is in Staffordshire. If they're not happy in the job, they should find other employment. They are going to put people's lives at risk, which touches on some of the things you were mentioning earlier on. Can I put this point to you, Sian? Julian has got in contact from Mansfield. Thank you, Julian. NHS staff got 3% last time when other staff had their wages frozen. Now they're getting £1,400. Seems like a good payoff to me. How do you address that point?
I mean, I think it's really good to hear the public support that we heard from those earlier comments, but I take on board that point. But I would refer to my earlier remarks about we've had 12 years of pay cuts and pay freezes, government deliberately holding down the pay of NHS staff. So that 3% came after all of those cuts. And what staff are saying is that they cannot afford to keep the head above water. This isn't action they want to take. They want the government to come to the table and negotiate with unions. Let's get a fair pay deal. Nobody's asking for more than what is fair. And we're seeing this across the sector. We're seeing it in education, we're seeing it in rail, we're seeing it elsewhere. People are really being driven to considering industrial action. And in the case of something like the Royal College of Midwives, this is only the second time in their history that they're balloting members. This really is a crunch point for our public sector and its workforce. Government have to listen.
Just have one more message in from Donna in Liverpool. She says, as a nurse, I voted for strike action on the basis I cannot meet my bills. We often work 10 to 15 hours unpaid every week. We have lost nurses and we've taken no nursing roles to pay better. I spent 3 years at university and a further 6 years to practice. My life is at daily risk and I'm responsible for others. Thank you to Donna and to everyone else who sent in those messages. And Sian, thank you very much for your time tonight as well. Really good to talk to you. That's Sian Elliot from the Trade Union Congress.